Today, I'm talking with Dean Holmes, and he is director of JN Bentley, folks. The one thing that really stood out to me, Dean, was a post you did on LinkedIn that went pretty viral with the frustration that you have in the industry about, how people can get training and support. We're in an age of huge excitement right now in the sector, but with that, people have got to manage the excitement, expectations, and all the different things that are coming in: electrification, hydrogen, 3D machine control from the likes of Leica Geosystems. You've got safety solutions. All these things are new as to when people started learning how to be a plant manager and one of the team, isn't it? So tell me a little bit about, why you put it out there.
With anything such a LinkedIn post, it's almost be careful what you wish for. The post has had a lot of attention, and I've had a lot of people reaching out. You can see visibly what's on the platform, but there's then obviously direct messages, etc. And I think what that has really highlighted is, as an industry, that there really is a problem, or as you kind of try to position there, I think it's more look at it as an opportunity. So, when you say, what are my frustrations? I guess my general feeling has been, if we don't do something as a sector, then the general perceptions that have probably been there for a number of years around what do plant managers do, and I say that in the broader sense, and anybody that's involved in managing a construction plant fleet. So you got plant coordinators, logistic coordinators, and a whole myriad of different, job roles that fall within that plant management structure. From the outside looking in, people would normally just say those people just look after administration and the legal compliance of everything. When, as you've pointed out, in the age today, that's certainly not the case. So for me, internally, and I guess in a broader, any discussions I get involved in on this, I tend to use an IT analogy. Right. And what do I mean by that? Well, in the last 10 years, if you look at IT and you talk about IT hardware and software, for me, the plant manager role of the past was very much that they needed to be fully understanding of all the hardware. So, plant assets, they could lift an engine, they understood how an engine worked, oil pressures, they understand how the assets functioned, and, in terms of the physical logistics of moving kit around, plant managers really had a good grasp of everything to do with that. Today, we now got lots of different tools and systems that really support plant managers on the hardware side of stuff. So actually, where things are for me is that software side from an IT analogy. So the plant management now is very much on that software side. So you've got, data, big data coming at us thick and fast. You've got different OEM platforms that different plant managers got to interface with. We've got sustainability. We've got carbon accounting and scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions. We've got whole life costing. There's a whole host of other stuff now. You've got a much broader pool of disciplines which could come into the plant management sector and really perform and have a really prosperous career. But if we don't do some of the basics around, well, what does that development pathway for somebody look like? What are the professional qualifications that someone in a plant management team can fulfill? Then we're not going to attract and, more importantly, retain people in the sector. So, hopefully that just gives you a bit of a flavour for the context of I guess how I framed it was my frustrations. A bit more linked to that is, if you look at any of tier ones, or even some of the big regional and national plant hirers, actually, when you look at plant management and the operational side of it, teams are quite niche, they're quite small, they're much smaller compared to the context of the rest of the organization that they work within. So what you don't have that critical mass of people that you're trying to put together an internal development program for, because you've got 1, 2, or 3 people at any one point in time. So for me, the only way we're going to really address this is a sector as an industry level. If all of those organizations with that 1, 2, 3, or 4 create some critical mass, that for me is what will enable us to get the traction to have the right development programs, professional qualifications, etc., that come with that. So my post was trying to untangle, right, how could we do this as more of an industry level, but bearing in mind, as everybody's got day jobs as well. So it's the time and the effort and the expertise that's needed. There'll be a number of us that all share this same frustration, because that's been evident with the amount of people that have reached out to me in the background and go, great posting, can you keep us posted? Because as an organisation and a senior leader, I'm really interested to see if it can crack this one. So for me, that's where it's gone from there, really.
For me, as somebody in the industry, I see some of the pressures, even on myself, trying to find out what's the latest thing. I'm going to shows like Intermat, Hillhead, Bauma, ConExpo, and every time you go, there's a real step change in what's happening out there. You go from prototypes to working electric big machines to dashboards to version 2 of this, or 12 of that. And, it's overwhelming when you come to look at it in that context. And I think there's a real pressure put on the plant managers of today, whereby they're being asked by clients, like you've talked about there, say, give me the carbon emissions, show me improvement on those carbon emissions. Well, that's being done. The softwares and solutions are there, but then, you've got people that are really focusing on eco-operator training, for example, that's been brought in by the industry, supported by the industry, and players like Flannery and Lynch, bringing that through, and the training resources for them that are delivering those real benefits, where then you've got somebody then having to look at all of that, not necessarily as their job role, and then interpret how that's going to be used and the things that they need to do on site to improve that, or even to recognize the people that are making a big effort, and some of those that need support, and extra sort of help, and at that level. But when you've not got those linchpin people, and they tend to be people that have been in the industry for a long time, like I'm following the A417 development with for the National Highways team, and one of the guys, Mark, that's working on that, used to drive a JCB backhoe, and he's come all the way through to then helping to build a road. We're not going to have those people in the future, because those people, like you said, the practical people that haven't got that way through, and we need to actually attract some of the better technical brains as well into the industry, that aren't going to be put off by the fact they're going to have to put some muddy boots on as well. So there is a real difference in how all of that comes into play, but there's also a big opportunity with how we can, as big carbon emitters, as big energy users, really use technologies and skill sets to transform the way we deliver, isn't it?
What you need in your plant management teams is a real diverse set of skills. And going back to that hardware and software, you need a good hybrid of both sets of skills now. And because of that, nothing's straightforward.
No.
There's nothing is straightforward. As you're trying to look at machine integration, intelligent machines, the crossover now of where I guess the plant management teams go. So if you look at, I guess, the tier ones, and you're looking at civil engineering, previously your plant manager would be making sure the machine was in good working order, it was compliant, and it got to the right place. The plant manager of some I guess some teams would also be looking at the operator and the competence of the operator and the training of the operator. But after that, their role would pretty much stop. We've introduced into our plant team digital plant advisors in the last 2 or 3 years. That's all to work in that space of big data, and working with some of the blue chip names of Leica and Topcom and Trimble in terms of how do we, from an engineering point of view, get better value from a productivity and a safety perspective. But all of that needs a completely different skill set than the plant manager I just talked about, without being stereotypical around what a plant manager used to do. But that's just how it's changing. And for me, I guess one of the disciplines where you touched on it, in terms of your example from Mark, people have come off operating the machines, and in the future careers they've gone into more management and senior roles within that, but they've almost just fallen into it. What we need is some really good development pathways and qualifications that really help support that future development of where the discipline is going.
Yeah, and I think when you look at things like construction managers and their qualifications, when you look at things like architecture and the fact that they've got loads and loads of qualifications and things to go through before the chartered status of where you get, and yet I believe our industry can make probably the biggest advancements of everything in the sector that's going on right now in the wider construction sector, and yet we're going to lose those people that we need to a chartered status in something else because they're recognized. Once they get through that process, they can earn more money, they can be more respected, they can go and run teams because they've got all of the things that they need to do. Whereas the people that have fallen into it, and a lot of people you talk to in plant, even the leaders have said, I don't know how I really got here. I went on a site one day, quite liked this, got a temp job here, did that there. And then all of a sudden you find yourself a career of 30, 40, 50 years in this sector because it is exciting once you discover it. But the discovery piece is really challenging. And when you're wanting to retain people in the sector, which is the biggest thing that we've got now with younger people coming through or career changers coming through, is having that opportunity to say, we're going to teach you all of this. It's going to take some time, but as you grow through all of these different things, you're going to make more money. You're going to make yourself more valuable because you're going to actually save the business that you're working for a lot of time and money. And let's not forget the safety impacts. You can save lives and the well-being of people if you're putting in the digitalized AI safety systems, or you're looking at development of new clever stuff. And so where do you think we go from here? Because I really want to support this. This is why we're talking, and you've had private messages, public messages from a lot of other people that say, we recognize we need to do something. And where does it sit? Because we're not going to create another organization necessarily. We've got the CEA, the CPA, we've got the CIOB, all these different organizations, but we haven't got necessarily the remit from any one of them to do this, have we?
From a strategic point of view, is like, what's the next steps and where we go? So for me, you kind of don't eat an elephant all at once. So it's got some traction. You can see that there is an appetite out there. One of the people who kindly reached out, I think they sit on the board for the CPA, so they're going to pretty much stick what was on my post on the agenda.
Great.
You'll have seen some of the things from a public perspective around, people pointing me towards the Association of Equipment Managers over towards the US, or the Society of Operational Engineers in the UK. So for me, there's something there within those three different bodies or societies that is a good starting point. So it's not trying to reinvent the wheel and create, as you say, a new body. There's existing bodies that I'm sure if they see that there's a real appetite for anybody who manages a plant fleet to get involved and create some critical mass, hopefully some positivity will come out of it. And for me, it's when I'm looking at the younger talent within the sector and my own plant team, if in 3 or 4 years we can start to see something even like MVQ style or just some real baby steps to start with, that for me is what good looks like. But more importantly at the minute is I share my frustration, and clearly it's a great opportunity for the industry to do something with, because as a discipline we all share that frustration. So anybody that we are developing currently are all from within that internal mentoring and coaching, and I guess getting them shadowed with people who've got some experience. There isn't anything really so much formal. I know a lot of the external hirers that they'll have internal development programs. But they'll be made up of a myriad of different things: customer service, sales. It's not a holistic plant management development program.
Thanks again for talking to me. And folks, if you want to listen to more great leaders like Dean, if you want to see the latest technology, if you want to see the new diggers, the electrics, the hydrogens, the whatever else that's happening in this industry, stay tuned with our big website, contentforindustry.com. Thanks again, Dean. Speak to you soon. Cheers.
Yes, Peter.